Hello everybody, welcome back into a new video. Today I'm going to be recounting my interview experience at the RBA, also known as the Reserve Bank of Australia. So, I applied for a graduate position. Basically they have this like graduate program in the IT division. So most of, obviously, their graduates are going to be like economics and finance students, but they do also hire some IT grads. So that's what I applied for. So I applied on the 12th of February online, and looking back at my application, it was pretty terrible. Like, I think I spent a maximum of like 5 minutes on it, so I don't know how I got through. But anyways, so I submitted my CV and academic transcript, and just looking back at the answers, they truly were like, literally not even like one sentence. They were just like a few words. I can insert them on screen, but basically one of the questions was, what do you think makes you a strong applicant for the RBA's graduate development program? And I literally answered previous experience / skills and motivation to succeed. So yeah, I mean, short and sweet. Maybe that's what they're after. I don't know. And then another one of the questions was, please provide details of your work experience today, and I literally just put like refer to CV. And then another one of the questions was, why do you want to work for the Reserve Bank in IT? And I said, a dynamic and innovation organization that has a big impact on Australians, which I feel like that literally could have been any organization in Australia. But anyways, after I submitted that, I got another email immediately asking me to do online testing. And I remember these were probably the most like difficult online tests, just in terms of like length and like how thorough they were. So I had to do 3 tests. So one of them was written, one of them was problem solving, and then one of them was numerical reasoning. And I think they took me about 30 to 40 minutes each. So that was like almost 2 hours of tests, so quite a long time. And then on the 24th of February, 12 days after I did those online tests, that is when I got an email from the recruiter saying that I had been successful, and I guess gotten to the next round. So I feel like they place more importance on those rather than like your answers in your application. So the recruiter basically asked if we could have like an initial kind of 10-minute chat on Zoom, I guess, to just kind of get to know each other, make sure, I don't know, I was like not stupid and spoke English, and yeah, so on the 24th of Feb, they emailed me, and then we organized a Zoom meeting for the 2nd of March. So that was just really easy initial meeting. I think it's meant to be a phone screening, so if you're in Australia, they'll probably just call you. But because I'm in New Zealand, I think the recruiter was like, I can't call phone numbers in New Zealand, so let's just do it on Zoom. So yeah, again, super simple, pretty basic. So one of the questions was like, tell me about yourself. Why do you want to work here? What would you bring to the bank if you were successful? And one last question about like relocation, saying, you know, obviously you were in Australia, like, would you move here? And I was like, yeah, I'll move there. No worries, it's sure. And then the last question was like, do you have any questions for them? So yeah, super easy, basic interview. I don't know how you would really fail that. But yeah, I guess just prep a little spiel about yourself and know why you want to work there. And then I think we scheduled another like proper interview for 2 days later, so on the 4th of March. So this was kind of like a panel interview, again just on Zoom. So with 3 of the people that were kind of like managers or worked in IT, I guess that would have been my team had I gotten through. The panel interview, I think they said it was going to be like a mix of technical and behavioral problems, and there was going to be like a 5-minute, I guess, presentation portion. So at first I was a bit like, oh, I don't really know what to expect. But I think ultimately I wasn't too nervous because, to be honest, I know some people really like maybe that study economics or finance and their dream is to like work at the Reserve Bank, but for me it was just like another place that I applied to, and I didn't really want to work there that much, to be honest. But yeah, anyway, so I had an interview with those 3 people. My downfall is that I didn't do enough preparation. I mean, it was like March, so this was like super early in the year, so I was like, I don't even know if I want to commit to a job in March, you know, like who knows what I'm going to be doing like a year later. So I had the interview, so they said it was going to be an hour long, and it basically started off, I remember it started quite abruptly. Like normally in an interview, you know how they're like, oh, how are you, tell us about yourself. There was none of that. It was kind of just like straight into questions. I think, well, they started by telling me like a bit about the graduate program. So I remember the first question was, what do you know about the Reserve Bank? And I literally was like, not a lot. So that wasn't a good start. So yeah, do some research, know what the bank does. And then the second question was like about my previous experience. So I had previously interned at another government organization in New Zealand, so I think that was very relevant and probably definitely helped me get the interview. But yeah, so I talked a bit about my role there. To be honest, it wasn't very technical, so that probably didn't help. Another one of the questions was name a time where you had too much to do. And this again was like pretty difficult for me because I couldn't really think of a time where I had too much to do. So I was literally like, I've never had too much to do. Like, that's so dumb. Like, of course, I've always, like, there's been a situation where I've had a lot on my plate, but I couldn't really think of anything, so yeah, I just kind of blanked out and I didn't know how to answer that, so that was pretty terrible. But I did give some, like, techniques on how, you know, I manage my time and how I'm, like, very organized and all that, but yeah, they probably just like, this girl is, like, super arrogant, like, we're not gonna, it's not gonna work out. And then another pretty basic question was tell us about your strengths and your weaknesses. So I think I made up some random strengths like communication, teamwork, all that good stuff. And then I think in my weaknesses I said that like I can be too positive, which I guess technically isn't really a weakness, so that probably didn't help. And then they asked me a bit about classes I took, so I just kind of explained the courses that I've taken in university. I think I answered that fairly well since, you know, I know myself and I know what I've studied fairly well. And then there was the kind of presentation chunk of it. So there was a list of questions and we basically had 5 minutes to like choose a question and then sign it out. So the question that I chose was, is data a strategic asset? I thought this was probably the one that I could answer best since I had worked with data and, you know, I studied it and I feel like I know more about it. So yeah, they basically just took a 5-minute break, so like we turned off our cameras and then I had 5 minutes to prep. So I pretty much just like was scrambling on Google and I was like googling, is data a strategic asset, like pros and cons of data, blah blah blah. After that 5 minutes, I think I answered the question fairly well. I think I explained that like data by itself isn't necessarily an asset, but you gotta like, you know, get the insights and use that to make decisions, blah blah blah. But yeah, I think I answered that fairly well. And then there was another question about how name a time you worked in a team. So I think I gave the example of like being at Starbucks, everyone knowing their role and, you know, I don't know, basic interview questions. And then finally they asked like, do you have any questions for us? So again, I was kind of just like, I don't know, I feel like I was myself, like I was pretty genuine. I answered things that I genuinely want to know. Like, so I asked him what's the difference between the Treasury and the Reserve Bank, and this dude gave like a fairly non-answer answer, but anyways, that was that. And then another question I had was how many grads are you guys hiring, and they said 4. So I thought that was pretty like low compared to how many other grads. I think they hire like 30-ish or 20 to 30 economics and finance grads, so the fact that they only had 4 IT grads like was, to be honest, a bit of a worry. Like I'm worried for them, you know, if they're not getting talent in IT, like clearly tech is gonna be really big in the future, so I feel like that's something that they need to improve. That was my interview. It was only about 30 minutes long, so it went fairly quick. Overall, I think I answered the technical questions fairly well, but I think there were definitely some behavioral questions that I didn't answer too well, and obviously my lack of research into the organization probably showed that, you know, I didn't really care. I didn't really, you know, want the job. Ultimately, it did take quite a while to hear back from them. My interview was on the 4th of March. On the 10th of April, so this was like over a month, I still hadn't heard back, so I sent my recruiter an email saying, hey, like I did my interview, you know, over a month ago, like can you tell me the outcome? So I think, to be honest, the sheer fact that they hadn't gotten back to me within a month was not a very good sign, because I feel like if you're successful, then normally they'll tell you like a few days after the interview, because obviously they don't want you, you know, to take other offers. That was kind of a bad sign, but I guess they had, you know, still been in the recruitment process. But yeah, so after I asked for the outcome, 2 days later, the recruiter emailed me and she was like, I'll tell you by the end of the week. So then on the end of the week, that's when I got the rejection email. So I did the math, and it actually took 6 weeks from when I did my interview to when I finally got rejected. So this was a very long process. In hindsight, I don't really get. Not in an arrogant way, but like I honestly think I would have been more stressed if I had got the offer, because I feel like I would have felt that, you know, I would have had to accept it, even though there's probably companies that I'm more interested in, and I think other people that probably would be a better fit, or, you know, want to work at the bank more than me. So yeah, that's it for today's video. Hope it was a bit helpful or entertaining, and I'll see you guys in my next one. Sure.